Bruchim haba and welcome everyone to a special edition of All Parsha, the Chasam Sofer, on Parshas Lecha. I'd like to share with you this week two fundamental pieces in the Chasam Sofer that are important to our understanding of who the Chasam Sofer was and important to our understanding of the times that we're living in today. Chasam Sofer, in his opening piece in Sofer Chasam Sofer ala Torah, this is page Lametes, the first Divrei HaMaschal. He raises a very intriguing question. We know when Avram Avinu was in Ur Kasdim, he broke the idols of Terach, of Nimrod. He was proactive in fighting idolatry, and he was thrown into the fiery furnace, and he risked his life to fight idolatry. And yet, we don't find this type of reaction of Abraham when he comes to Canaan. We don't find him breaking idols. And it's not like in Canaan there were no idols. The Gemara in Avodah Zarah tells us, on Daf Memhei, that on every mountaintop, on every hill, it was full of idols. And yet we don't find Avraham Avinu taking the same position and the same stance that he did in Ur Kasdim. Why is that? Chasam Sofer says something very important. He says that in Ur Kasdim, people didn't listen to Avram. Avram Avinu tried to spread monotheism, his belief in a one kind God. They didn't accept it. And therefore Avram Avinu had no alternative to prevent people from idolatry and to educate people other than proactively going out and destroying the idols. But he was putting his life in danger. Well, so be it. So be it. There's no other way. There's no other form of communication. Education was not working. But when Avram Avinu came to Canaan, the Torah says, Vayikra b'shem Hashem. He called out in the name of Hashem. He taught the world about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And they were receptive. They listened to him. He amassed, the Rambam says, tens of thousands of students. He was no longer authorized to proactively go out and break idols. Well, he would be risking his life. Well, what says the Chasam Sofer? Should he rely on a miracle? Can't rely on a miracle. Should he anyway go out and risk his life? No, says the Chasam Sofer. He was not authorized to do that. Because since he has Talmidim, well, who will the Talmidim go to for guidance, for instruction, for direction in life? Since, says the Chasam Sofer, the people were listening to him, he was effective in his education and communication in the land of Canaan. He was not authorized, he was not halachically allowed to put his life in jeopardy and break the idols. Well then, who will be instructing and guiding and directing his students? Now this is a very revealing piece of the Chasam Sofer, because as perhaps we know, the Chasam Sofer foremost was a great Marbitz Torah, always concerned himself with fulfilling the mitzvah of Harbatzas HaTorah and his students, and this reveals to us the responsibility that Chasam Sofer sees a Rebbe has toward his students, that he may have to alter his educational approach, having in mind that it's important that the Rebbe always be secure, because otherwise who will guide the students? Another amazing observation of the Chasam Sofer is an observation in Nekudais. The pasuk says, Perek Yud Beis, pasuk Hey, Avram takes Sarai and Lot and his possessions and his students, Vayetzu lalechas arza Kinaan, Vayetzu arza Kinaan. It says, Vayetzu lalechas arza Kinaan. He went out to go to the land of Canaan with a patach, Vayavoyu, but he arrived arza Kinaan, the land of Canaan, with a kamatz. Chasam Sofer has two questions. Firstly, the word Canaan is extra. Once it says he left, he went out to go to the land of Canaan, why does it have to say he came to the land of Canaan? It should say he came there, Vayavayu Shama. Why again arza Canaan? Furthermore, why the first time with a patach and the second time with the kamatz? Well, for those who are familiar with diktuk, we would know right away. The first time the word Canaan is on, the trup on the word Canaan is a zakef gadol, and therefore it is not a absolute stop, and therefore it would be a patach. The second Kinaan is by a seif pasuk, and therefore it would be a kamatz. Nevertheless, the Chasam Sofer feels that this is something to study in the realm of drush, and the Chasam Sofer says as follows: Hashem tells Abraham, Lech Lecha el haaretz asher areka. I'll let you know where to go. But Avram Avinu immediately set out to Canaan. Why did he set out to Canaan? Why does he go to the land of Canaan? Hashem didn't tell him where to go. Avram knows exactly what is the chosen land of Hashem. He knew Canaan is Eretz HaNevcheres, and therefore that is where Avraham is headed. Now it is well known, the land of Canaan, Eretz Yisrael, does not tolerate sin, like we find in Vayikra, Parak Yud Ches, V'lo yisaki haaretz eschem. Don't contaminate the land, so the land vomits you out. And therefore, people living in Eretz Yisrael, for them to be able to stay there, have to be pure of sin, free of sin. Otherwise, the land cannot tolerate them. So Avraham Avinu expected to arrive in the land of Canaan and see people who are open to Kedusha, receptive to Kedusha, people on a very high level. And what happens? He gets there and he sees Canaanim. And we know the acts, the behavior of the Canaanim were abominable. They acted in a very degrading, immoral way. Their maisim were meshukatz umetuav, were an abomination. So Avraham set out, lalechas arza Canaan. He went out to expect to receive a people who were open to Kedusha, receptive to Kedusha, growing, tzaddikim. That's not what he found. Vayavoyu arza Canaan. They were sealed shut, they were closed. He didn't understand it. Isn't this Eretz Yisrael? Isn't this Eretz HaKadosha? How does the land tolerate it? The reason is, says the Chasam Sofer, the land tolerated it because the people were there just to occupy it and guard it and protect it until Klal Yisrael got there. And if their sole role is not really to be inhabitants, but just to guard it for the Jewish people who arrive later, the land will keep them there. So therefore, Avram Avinu comes, he was expecting to come to the land of Canaan, Patach, open to Kedusha. He arrives where it's Canaan, a land close to Kedusha. Hashem says, let me explain to you why this is. So Hashem immediately appears in Pasuk Zayin, Vayera Hashem al Avram. God appears to Avram, Vayera, L'zaracha etenas artzazos. I plan on giving this land to your descendants. That's why it's Canaan. That's why they're not receptive to Kedusha. Otherwise, not a chance the land would tolerate them. So this was Hashem's answer to the question Abraham had. Why are they Canaan? Why are they not Canaan? Answer, they're just guarding it for the Jewish people until they get there. So these are two ideas for the Chasam Sofer. The second idea is important for us to bear in mind today. As we are so concerned with our Tzenu HaKadosha, we always have to remember and recognize this is a land that is attuned to our behavior. And the higher level we live in Eretz Yisrael, the more Eretz Yisrael will be able to lovingly accept us and Be'ezus Hashem beckon all of us back to Artzeinu HaKadosha. Wishing everyone a good Shabbos.